Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Suspect that you're the murderer? What did the cops say? Eva held his hands. She wanted to hear the truth. They did interrogate me. Lucy's death is bizarre, but I didn't do it. Did the Constantines call you? No. They think I murdered her. I see they don't trust me at all. From now on, I'm not helping them anymore. Louis's face fell. Now we have to look into Eva's car crash. There's something more about it. Something sinister, Jessie said. Yeah. Lucy died right after Eva got into the car crash. That can't be a coincidence. Sarah made an offhand comment. However, that gave Louis an idea. Wait. Eva's car crash could be something Lucy orchestrated. Later that day, Louis asked Julian and Jessie to go home first. Sarah went home as well while Eva was told to stay in the hospital for 3 days for now. The cops worked through the night on the case. Eventually, they noticed one similarity between Lucy and Eva: both ladies loved the same man. That was the clue they needed to find the truth. Some arduous investigation later, they finally made some headway. Lucy had withdrawn a huge sum of money. Right after that, Eva's car was tailed, and the criminal crashed into her, causing an accident. Subsequently, the criminal called Lucy and murdered her over the cash. Louis stayed by Eva's side during her stay at the hospital. She had nightmares every night due to her head injury. The medication didn't help much. Fortunately, every time she woke up, she would see Louis by her side, and it made her feel safe. The Constantines lost sleep over this case as well. They were awaiting the investigation results. Losing their daughter impacted their lives heavily. Their child was gone before they were. I know it's him. He killed our girl. Fiona roared. Let's see what the cops say. If he is the murderer, we'll see to it that he faces judgment. My poor girl. We can't let her murderer go unpunished, no. Blood will have blood. 3 days had gone by after the accident and murder. At 9:30 a.m. on the 4th day, the cops called the Constantines, asking them to make a trip to the police station. At the same time, Eva received a call as well. After confirming she was fine, the cops asked her to make a trip to the police station to record her testimonial. Louis gave her a ride to the police station. The moment they got out of the car, they ran into the Constantines. Agitated, Fiona came to berate Eva. You witch! You got our daughter killed. You give me my girl back, you little batch. Watch your tongue. Mrs. Constantine, Louis hissed. You did this to my daughter. You killed her because you wanted to marry this little batch, didn't you? We'll make you pay for it. Fiona growled, her eyes tearful. Don't talk to him, honey. He'll pay for what he did. If I had known he was an ingrate, I wouldn't have helped his parents. Mr. Constantine, I swear I didn't do this, Louis answered seriously, for old time's sake and for the help they gave his parents back then. You're denying it? I'm sure this woman has convinced you to kill our daughter. You thought Lucy got in your way of finding love, didn't you? How could you be so evil and kill her just to avoid marrying her? After thinking about the matter for an entire night, Louis had figured out the whole case. No. Lucy brought this on herself. Karma bit her in the butt faster than she could imagine. If you want answers, ask your daughter what she did. Oh, no, you can't. She's dead. Louis then led Eva into the police station. The cops talked to both parties. Eva entered the interrogation room for the recording of her testimonial while Louis stood guard outside the room. Sarah arrived a while later. The cops asked Eva about her meeting with Lucy, and she answered honestly. In another room, the Constantines were told of the investigation's results and another piece of good news. Lucy's killer, Zach Lohr, had been arrested and would arrive at the police station soon. "Officer, Louis is right there. Why aren't you arresting him?" Fiona demanded. "According to our investigations, Mr. Gilmore is innocent. He has nothing to do with this case." "What? But he hired this Zach character. You're letting him off the hook just because he's rich? Did he bribe all of you?" Fiona refused to believe this. "Calm down, Mrs. Constantine." "Calm down? Calm down? How can I calm down when that killer and his batch are still alive? My daughter died. She was only 27. And she wasn't even married yet." Fiona started bawling like a baby. The cops had gotten news of Zach's arrival, and they swiftly went into interrogation mode with him. Scared out of his wits, Zach confessed all of his crimes. Not even one detail was spared. After comparing evidence and fingerprints, Zach was identified as the murderer and Lucy as the mastermind. Louis and Eva were about to leave, but a cop stopped them. "Mr. Gilmore, Miss Duncan, we need you at the conference hall." "Did something happen?" Louis asked. "It's about Miss Duncan's accident. We've cracked the case." The Constantines had just entered the conference hall when Eva and Louis came in. The sight of those two made Cornelius and Fiona's blood boil. "Silence. You are summoned because these cases are more closely related than you think. We'll be explaining the whole thing to you now. Officers, it's them. They killed my daughter. You need to arrest them." Fiona pointed at Eva and Louis. "Calm down, Mrs. Constantine." The cop then played some videos. The first one showed Lucy withdrawing her money at the bank. All the cash was tucked away into a big sack, and she left with it. "Your daughter withdrew a large sum of money 5 days ago. 220 grand, to be exact. She must have had some use for it," Fiona quickly explained, though she didn't know why Lucy needed that money. The next video showed Eva in the underground car park. After she was gone, an off-road vehicle followed her closely. 20 minutes later, they came to a quieter road, and Eva's car was sent flying away. Zach was seen getting out of the car and approaching Eva's car, but the firemen showed up. Eva was then taken to the hospital. That car crash was a job request, to crash into Eva's car and slash her face up. Zach took it, but before he could finish his job, the firemen showed up. Who did this? Who hired him? Louis wanted to know who the mastermind was. His fists were balled up. If it weren't for the firemen, Eva would have been ruined. This is my fault. I didn't think Lucy had the capability for evil at this level. She tried to ruin Eva's life. Eva couldn't believe this car crash was an attempt on her future. She had thought it was a regular accident. The Constantines exchanged a look, and Fiona sneered. It could be anyone. I bet tons of people would love to destroy her. Look at her. She's a little batch who knows no shame. Eva looked at Fiona. Oh, so that's how it is. She mocked, I see the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Oh, sorry. Didn't fall far from the tree. What did you say? Silence. Mr. Gilmore raised a crucial question. The one who wanted Miss Duncan's face slashed was none other than Lucy Constantine. She envies Miss Duncan's looks, and so she hired Zach to slash her face. The Constantines couldn't believe this. Cornelius gnashed his teeth. Impossible. My daughter couldn't have done that. My daughter was as beautiful as this woman. She couldn't have done this. The cops played a few more videos. They were voice recordings of what happened in the cars. The first one was the recording of the call Zach made, while the second one was the recording of what happened in Lucy's car. They had argued about the sum of money that should be paid. The Constantines cried the moment they heard their daughter's voice, and they could see why the cops came to the earlier conclusion. And so, Zach went to meet Lucy. She refused to pay him in full, so he took her life and escaped with all the money. Do you need further clarification, Mr. and Mrs. Constantine? So, I can sue them for damages then? Eva asked coldly. The cops nodded. You can. Very well. Mrs. Constantine, I shall sue your family for what your daughter did to me. Have a heart, will you? We just lost our daughter, and you wish to sue us? Fiona started playing the victim. But Eva refused to spare them any sympathy. She icily said, I'll go through due process. She pulled Louis up. Let's go, Louis. You're not leaving. Fiona shouted. Louis, you promised us that plot of land, remember? Don't forget to give it to us. Cornelius stood up at once. Even in the face of his daughter's death, all he cared about was profit. Louis turned around and stared at the Constantines. We're over, Constantines. Louis, how could you? My daughter may be gone, but you can't cut us off. We helped your family out when you needed it most. And you've been reaping the rewards all these years. I gave you everything you asked for. The favor is repaid. Louis held Eva's hand and left. Not only did the Constantines lose their daughter, but they also lost the plot of land they were supposed to get. Yet, they couldn't do anything about it. Eva felt like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders the moment they emerged from the police station. She rested her head on Louis's shoulder and took a deep breath. Smells like fall now. We can finally be together. Louis held her shoulders. He was still shuddering from the near tragedy that could have happened. Thank God you're fine. Will we still be together if my face really got slashed? Of course. If your face was slashed, I'd scour the world for the best doctors for you. We would face it together. Eva smiled. Thank God I'm fine. I'd probably die if my face was slashed. The case was cracked, and the arranged marriage was no more. Eva had a bit of a scare, but in return, she could finally be with the love of her life without worries. 3 days later, Eva's manager sued the Constantines for damages and demanded payment of nearly 200 grand. The Constantines lamented their fate, but they had to pay the price or they would be imprisoned. Louis, Eva, Julian, and Jesse had dinner at a fine dining restaurant. It was a happy dinner. Eva's forehead was covered in a layer of bandage which she hid under a hat, but she looked a lot better now. Her skin was glowing, and she had a great appetite. I can't wait to attend your wedding, Eva, Jesse said. Previously, Eva would sigh every time her wedding was mentioned, but now, she answered happily, we'll hold one as soon as possible. Yeah. Louis at that age. He should be raising a family by now. Julian smiled. He wanted Louis to get married soon. I'll try to hold the wedding before Christmas, Louis said swiftly. None of them talked about the Constantines as it would just ruin the mood. Julian and Jesse took Gilmore Corporation's private jet the next day and flew to their film set. They didn't have time to fool around at work as they had to shoot some crucial scenes. Only about a month was left until the shoot was supposed to wrap up. All the crew members realized that Julian and Jesse's chemistry got a lot better, especially during the romantic scenes. The look in their eyes told 1,000 stories. That was how everyone knew that Julian and Jesse were dating in real life. Jessie messed up a few takes of a scene where she needed to cry while hugging Julian. She thought that it was impossible because every time she hugged him, all she wanted to do was smile. Only delight filled her heart when she was with him, so how could she cry? Jessie, just imagine something really bad. Like maybe Julian was stolen by another woman? Vincent suggested. Jessie shot Julian a look. What? So, you're going to let another woman come near you? Julian sighed in silence. Vincent, just shut up and do your work. You're going to ruin my relationship at this rate. Oh, whoops. Vincent quickly smiled. That won't happen in real life, don't worry. Just a little hypothetical. Calm down, Jessie. I need some onions. Jessie had no choice left. Her assistant got her an onion and she chopped it a little. That worked well and she started crying. All right, now. Jessie darted back to Julian and rested her head on his shoulders. She was crying uncontrollably on camera. It was a good take, but Jessie was still crying even after the scene. No matter how hard she rubbed her eyes, they still felt tingly. Well, guess I have to take her to the waiting room and give her all my love, Julian thought. When the couple emerged from the waiting room, Jessie's eyes were still a little red, but so were her lips. The shooting went by really fast, and everyone had fun, especially the couple. 1 week went by before anyone realized it. Jessie was particularly sore after the shooting session today, as she had to wear the stunt wire for the whole day. Julian was worried for her. He rubbed some soothing salve all over her after they returned to the hotel and tried to convince her to use a stunt double. Jessie didn't mind him rubbing the salve all over her, but she wasn't about to use a stunt double. When Julian was done rubbing the salve on her, Jessie turned around and was met with a gaze of desire. You've been working through the night for 2 days straight. You should get some rest, you know. Jessie pulled her clothes down just in case the sight of her skin stoked his flames of desire. Julian narrowed his eyes. What? You think I can't go on? Oh God. You and your ego. So cute. She wrapped her arms around his neck and buried her head in his chest. I know you can still go on. I just don't want to tire you out. Julian let her off the hook. It wasn't because his stamina was running low, but because she had to rest after the day she had. And so, the couple scrolled through their phones. He played a few matches to wind down while Jessie was scrolling through some shorts. That was when she noticed a few guys doing some sexy dance moves. She kept replaying that short, and that attracted Julian's attention. He took a quick look and noticed the video she was watching. She's watching a video of other guys while she has me by her side? He had no idea what to feel. Hey, why are you watching them? Look at me. I'm better than them. The jealous Julian pulled his shirt up, showing off his abs to Jessie. Her cheeks burned, and Julian covered her head with his clothes, pushing her closer to his chest. Jessie giggled as she rubbed her cheeks against his chest, causing Julian's flames of desire to flare up. He was going to let her off the hook that night, but he couldn't do that now. Not after she kept replaying that video. If I don't give her what she wants, she might keep searching for similar videos. You don't seem tired at all. Why don't we take this to the bed and have a little dance? Oh, you can dance? I want to see, said Jessie happily. Of course, I know how to dance. I was the dance champion during the first year of my career. He gave up dancing after he started acting full-time. He could still dance, however. You should get to know more about me, he said in a grating voice before pressing his lips against hers. Jessie's heart exploded with delight. Her heart would always flutter every time she saw his pictures and compilation videos that were made by his fans. And now I'm his girlfriend. This is bliss. She was really proud of herself. Her boyfriend was the man of every girl's dream, but now he was hers and hers alone. It was a passionate night, but Jessie paid the price for it the next day. Getting out of bed was too much for her after all that action, so her schedule was delayed. Lisa, who was filming in a set near Julian and Jesse, had caught wind of the rumors. Everyone said that they were dating and shared a room every night. She was disappointed, and she knew Jesse was now on the list of people she should never offend. At first, she thought she had a chance with Julian, but her hopes were dashed. In fact, all the female celebrities' hopes were dashed. Time flew, and it was close to wrapping up the shoot. Whenever Jessie had time, she would video call her sister and parents. November came, and with it, the chilly winds of fall. Finally, the shooting came to an end. It was a wrap. On the final day of shooting, Julian walked up to her with a bouquet in his hands. There were people around them, but he didn't care. He hugged Jessie and kissed her forehead. Jessie was the only person he had eyes for. Nobody else was worth his time. Everyone envied the couple, especially the ladies. Once upon a time, Julian belonged to everyone, but now he was Jessie's. At the same time, one piece of good news reached Julian. Louis was already preparing for his wedding. Pretty soon, we'll get to attend their wedding. Jessie celebrated her final night on set with a big feast. Everyone was invited. Lexi even found a boyfriend among the crew members. He was a part of the camera crew, and they had fallen in love. All Jessie wanted was to take a break. The filming had been hectic, and rest was a luxury. On the night before their return to Averna, snow fell. It was a beautiful scene, and Jessie found herself in the fields outside the hotel. Beside her stood Julian, who was taking pictures of the snow together with her. Then, she posted a photo of their backs on her social media. Her caption read, "Here's to many more years of you by my side." Jessie would love to make her relationship public, but the time was not right. To her surprise, Julian was the first one to like her post. That honor used to belong to Lexi. When Jessie checked her post later in the night, there were already more than 30,000 comments underneath, all because of Julian's like. His fans kept a close eye on his day-to-day activities, and his liking of Jessie's post led them here. Everyone was speculating about who his girlfriend was. Rumors said he was dating the female lead of his new show, but there was no evidence yet. The fans consumed every piece of information available, even though they were only scraps. Anything for Julian, they'd say. The couple flew back to Averna the next day. Jessie invited Eva to shop and have tea. Then, she and Queenie returned home to see their parents. Eventually, it was time for Eva's wedding. The news of it was a bombshell for the industry, as Eva was really famous while her husband was the boss of the industry's leading company. Yet, they didn't invite too many people to their wedding. If they were to invite everyone they knew, they would need a venue that could house at least 2,000 guests. Hence, they planned to hold a low-profile wedding. Eva didn't mind. She never liked to brag about her life anyway. The wedding happened 1 week later. Julian and Jessie were invited, of course, but only as guests. Eva had asked her best friend to be the bridesmaid. Louis looked dashing during the wedding, and Eva looked gorgeous in white. This was a wedding most people could only dream of, a picturesque wedding of a prince and a princess. Eva was the center of everyone's attention, and Louis expressed all the love he had for her. It was true love. Jessie and Julian were seated at the first table, their hands clasped together tightly under the table. The ceremony kept going on until night descended. It was a sacred day that nobody would forget, and then everyone attended the wedding reception at night. Jessie had changed into a white silk dress which she specifically picked for the occasion. It made her gleam like a little fairy. It was then all the guests realized the Gilmore brothers had both found the loves of their lives. Eva's wedding went viral. There weren't many pictures of the event, but the few they had made a big ripple across the net. Her fans loved how she looked, and they thought her husband was the perfect man for her. Eventually, the wedding came to an end, and soon it was Christmas Eve. Louis and Eva had gone on their honeymoon abroad, so Julian was invited to the Silverstein's place during Christmas. The Silverstein couple would love to marry Jessie off to him. Julian noticed their warm welcome. It was very hard not to. Jessie wanted to spend more time with her parents at night, but her mother told her to spend it with Julian instead. She even told Jessie there would be no breakfast for her the next morning since they had places to go. Jessie didn't mind staying with Julian. In fact, she would gladly do it. Now that her mother was giving her an excuse to leave the house, she followed Julian back to his home. Another important event of her life would take place the next night, her first movie premiere. The excitement kept her awake. She had also seen a lot of the movie's promotional photos making their rounds online. It was then she realized she had been looking at Julian like he was her whole world. And Julian, unlike most of the time, was smiling as well. That's the power of love. Only when he was with someone whom he loved would Julian crack a smile. Jessie also noticed something else. When she first joined the set, she would only steal glances at Julian. Her love was budding, yet she had not the courage to say it out loud. She also noticed a few photos where Julian was getting jealous. "Oh, I love these photos. They detail my memories with him. Our memories." She fell asleep eventually, but she woke up a little later. Groggily, she picked her phone up to look at the time. Julian had woken up as well, and he hugged her. "It's still early. Get back to sleep." "I can't. Oh my gosh, it's already 5:30 in the morning." She was still yawning, but sleep wouldn't claim her. Julian got up as well, and they stared outside the window for a moment. The skies were still dark. He said, "I'll take you around. It should freshen us up, then let's have breakfast." "How about you sleep here? I'll take the couch so that I won't disturb your sleep." Jessie was embarrassed because she was too excited to fall asleep but knew she shouldn't disturb his sleep. However, the man reached over and pulled her into his embrace. "Why don't we do some exercising?" "Sure. Now? The sky is still quite dark. Why don't we wait a bit?" Jessie asked with a serious expression. The man burst out laughing. "The exercise I'm referring to doesn't need us to head downstairs." Immediately getting what he meant, Jessie blushed and buried herself in the man's arms, unable to reject his request. Lord, men were generally the most lustful in the morning. In the end, Jessie couldn't stand her drowsiness despite her excitement. The man had worn her out. When she woke up again, it was already 11 o'clock a.m. Julian had ordered food for her so they could leave for the premiere in the afternoon. Jessie wore a cute yellow sweater with a small cap over her long hair, making her look cute and innocent. On the other hand, Julian was wearing a mask with casual clothes, but when he was walking on the street, he attracted everyone's attention with his model-like figure. The two invited Lexi and her boyfriend to the movie premiere as well. As Jessie was in high spirits, she felt her heart constantly thumping rapidly inside her chest as she held Julian's hand. When the premiere finally began, they saw Gilmore Corporation's eye-catching and astonishing promotional logo on the big screen, followed by the movie's opening. The special effects used in the movie were excellent, resulting in a very realistic mythical world. Also, her and Julian's names appearing together under the main cast section looked domineering and eye-catching. Jessie felt her heartbeat speed up again as she looked at her name, feeling like this was just a dream. Eva's name appeared soon after theirs. The 3D effect used was brilliant and gave the viewers a sense that they had been transported inside the movie and were taking a real trip into the mystical world. During the movie, Jessie could hear the sounds of gasps and exclamations inside the hall, obviously indicating that they were astonished by the special effects. She could only applaud the production crew for their wealth and capability. She felt like she could watch these special effects all day. Following that, a young celestial servant appeared on the screen. While Jessie watched the elegant immortal she played, she thought her features looked very delicate under the great camera movements and lighting. It was as if she were a real, unrealistically beautiful young immortal. Oh, heavens! Isn't that Jessie? She looks so beautiful. A young woman sitting behind Jessie exclaimed in excitement. Jessie had dubbed her the voice of her character herself and wasn't expecting her voice to sound so gentle and engaging. Her tone sounded clear and penetrative, and her every expression imbued the crowd. Meanwhile, Julian was also attracted by the image of his girlfriend on screen and couldn't help but praise himself for having such a good eye and choosing her to be the female protagonist. Although filming was difficult, watching the beautiful scenes made Jessie feel that all her efforts were worth it. On the screen, Jessie looked cute and slightly mischievous. It wasn't until she watched herself getting beaten up and thrown out like a sandbag that she felt Julian's demon lord, the male protagonist, was exceptionally handsome. She couldn't help but let out a few exclamations while clutching Julian's hand tightly. "You're so handsome." Turning to look at her, Julian kissed her forehead and cooed, "I'm yours." That moment, Jessie smiled so brightly that she squinted her eyes into slits. "Yes, he's mine. No matter how handsome he is, he's mine." Screams echoed throughout the entire movie hall. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that all the screams came from women. Julian was already used to it, but Jessie, just like his fans, was madly infatuated with him. Back on screen, the young immortal servant fell into Demon Lord's arms, and a shocking love story began. After the movie ended, Jessie and Julian came out of the hall with their masks on and saw many excited fans standing outside, seemingly still immersed in the movie. They kept praising the movie while walking away. At this moment, Jessie and Julian were inside an elevator. Julian had his hood on while Jessie hugged him tightly, snuggling her face in his chest. The four young women who just came in had been busy chatting with each other since they were in the courtyard. They didn't pay any attention to the couple already inside the elevator and continued to talk loudly. The two of them looked so good together. I kept fangirling over them throughout the whole movie. How I wish they were together in real life as well. I heard that they are a real couple. I wonder if that's true, but they have my blessing anyway. I used to dislike Jessie, but now I understand the hype about her beauty. She's indeed born to be a protagonist. Isn't she? I think so too. Gosh. Did you guys see how handsome Julian was? He never fails to steal women's hearts. Whoever has him as her boyfriend must be the luckiest person ever. I wish I could switch places with Jessie. This way, I could kiss him. Meanwhile, Jessie could feel the man she hugged freeze for a moment and almost burst out laughing. She then glanced over at the young woman who said she wanted to kiss Julian. The young woman wore a cute outfit that suited her slightly plump figure. Unsurprisingly, she spoke her mind so openly and didn't care what others thought of her. When they finally came out of the elevator and headed toward Julian's car, Jessie suddenly smiled and hugged Julian's arm while skipping. "What were you so nervous about?" Julian caressed her head while saying, "You know the answer." "Did your fans scare you?" "It seems they accept our relationship," Jessie exclaimed joyously. Stopping, Julian took her hands and reassured her, "You don't have to worry about how others feel about you. What's important is our love for each other." Jessie blinked a few times and nodded in agreement, but the words those fans said still made her happy inside. "I know that. No matter what happens, we will stay with each other." Jessie wrapped her arms around Julian's neck and stood on her toes to plant a kiss on his cheek. She thought, Julian looks so handsome. No wonder other women are head over heels for him. He looks super attractive on screen and can make anyone's heart flutter with just one action. Tonight, he managed to charm everyone through the big screen, so much so that the whole place was filled with screams. With the help of the amazing special effects, his portrayal of the demon lord seemed very realistic. Even when he raised his eyebrow or his head, or even made a move with his hand, it looked so handsome that it made everyone scream. Let's head home. Jessie's eyes looked shy, and she thought, perhaps this is a side effect of watching the movie. I want to have him entirely tonight. Why do you want to head home? Julian seemed to have guessed her thoughts but still wanted to tease her. While hiding her face in his chest, she urged, do something naughty. Come on, let's go. Hearing that, Julian burst out laughing and brought her over to the car before speeding back home to do the naughty thing she mentioned. The next morning, Jessie and Julian arrived at the company together. Vincent and the few producers were there because they had to attend an advertising campaign to promote the movie later in that afternoon. Julian, after our careful consideration, we decided not to let you and Jessie appear at the event together. I'm sure you know the reason, right? You have too many female fans, and we're worried about box office sales. Impossible. We have to appear on stage together, Julian immediately refused. We are just worried about the movie not selling well. After all, this is Jessie's first movie, and it would be bad if the movie sales weren't good. That's right. Julian, just bear with it for a while. You and Jessie will head to different event sites at the same time, so in a way, you guys are still promoting the movie together. When Jessie heard the others' suggestions, she joined them in persuading him. I think Director Cooper is right. The investment for this movie is so large that it might have quite a huge effect if the fans refused to buy our relationship had we made it public. Julian could ignore everyone else's words except Jessie's. He then asked unhappily, why can't we appear together on stage? Jessie glanced at him and squinted her eyes while pleading, just listen to what Director Cooper says. Fine. Julian finally agreed. Seeing that, Vincent and the others felt relieved. It seemed like the only person who could persuade Julian was Jessie. Later, Jessie had her makeup done at the company and put on a custom-made dress. She appeared at the event venue inside the shopping mall at 3:00 p.m. Her skin looked as fair as glistening snow, and her black, straight hair looked stunning and smooth. When she and Julian separated at the company, Julian personally saw her off until they reached the car. Right before she got in, she seized the opportunity to kiss him. Then, Julian reminded her, be careful and call me if anything happens. All right. If the MC asks you something you don't want to answer, you can refuse to answer it. Since Jessie had never attended any advertising campaigns, she was quite nervous. She nodded in agreement. All right then. I'll keep that in mind. You should hurry up and get ready too. Afterward, Julian closed the door and watched her car leave. On the road, Jessie's manager, Sarah, mentioned many things to Jessie and even showed her the answers to some potential questions. Sarah also told Jessie that the MC would ask questions according to these questions and answers, so Jessie only had to answer them according to the given answers. Therefore, Jessie memorized all those answers while going to the venue, wanting to remember them all. Sarah, I'm so nervous. What should I do? This is the first time I'm promoting a movie. What if I get stage fright and stammer on stage? Jessie asked Sarah. Don't worry. Fabian will be there as well. You can let him answer if you're not sure how to. He's more experienced in these things. Jessie nodded, still feeling so nervous that her hands were sweating. Since she had gone to watch the movie premiere yesterday, she was confident in her work. Moreover, the movie rating skyrocketed to 9.6 right after the premiere, which was considerably high. Meanwhile, back at the company, Julian and a few veteran actors would be heading to the event together, but since the venue was not far from where they were, the company hadn't arranged for them to leave. Julian was sitting at the cafe in the lobby, feeling worried the more he thought about Jessie heading to the advertising campaign alone. What if she gets too nervous? What if the MC asks her difficult questions? What if someone thinks she and Fabian are a couple? A lot of questions filled Julian's mind, and his heart began thumping wildly. In the end, he stood up and looked at Vincent before blurting out, "I'm not going there anymore." Once he said that, he grabbed his keys and speed walked out. "Hey! Julian, where are you going? It's almost time for the event. How can you walk out on us?" Vincent ran after him. However, Julian had already disappeared from the lobby. He dashed toward his car and got inside before speeding toward the shopping mall where Jessie would be attending the advertising campaign. In the meantime, Jessie arrived at the shopping mall and entered the green room through the employee-only passage. Fabian was already dressed handsomely and was waiting for her. When their gazes met, they smiled at each other. "Oh my gosh! Jessie, you look so pretty today," Fabian sincerely praised. "You also look very handsome." Jessie smiled and praised back. "Don't be nervous on stage. If you don't want to answer the questions, you can just leave them to me." "Sure. Thank you." When Jessie and Fabian finally got on stage, Jessie found that she had underestimated the number of fans that came to the event. All she saw was a sea of black filling the entire ground floor of the shopping mall, as well as fans peering down from above. Feeling nervous, Jessie pursed her lips while her hands, which were holding the microphone, started sweating. "All right. Let's invite both actors to introduce themselves." The MC was a man, and he was the kind that looked crafty at first glance. Fabian very naturally introduced himself, followed by Jessie, who took a deep breath before introducing herself. "Hello everyone, I'm Jessie Silverstein. I play Estelle in Fallen Heaven. I hope everyone enjoys my performance." "Whoa! She's so beautiful. Her skin is so smooth and fair. It looks like it's glowing." Seeing the fans below her eyeing her, Jessie was still suppressing her nervousness, but then she thought she might be even more nervous when the MC started asking questions. As she expected, the MC began by asking questions about the storyline. After a few questions, he began steering off course and asking private questions that fans were curious about. "Jessie, you're new to this industry, right? Everyone must not know you that well, so can you answer a few questions from the fans?" "Sure, go ahead." Jessie smiled and replied. "Who's your first kiss?" Jessie was stunned. "Can I tell them the answer?" However, she cleverly asked, "Are you referring to the movie?" "Of course, it's our male protagonist." "No, I'm not. We're more curious about your private life." "About that?" "I'm sorry, but it's not convenient for me to answer that question." "Sure. If that's too difficult for you, how about this one? How many past boyfriends have you dated? Just tell us the number." The male MC began to ask tricky questions. Meanwhile, the fans were all looking forward to the answer, wanting to know the number of past boyfriends the new rising actress had dated. Jessie stuck out one finger and said, "1." "Whoa. Why don't you tell us about your standards when choosing your future boyfriend or husband? Would you prefer a tall and handsome playboy or a gentle and caring man?" In Jessie's mind, she answered, "I don't mean to brag, but my boyfriend is not only tall and handsome but also gentle and caring too." Jessie suddenly didn't know how to rephrase her words to make them sound less like she was bragging. "How about we do it this way? Among all the male celebrities in the entertainment industry, who do you think is your dream boyfriend?" When the MC saw the crowd growing more excited, he began to probe deeper into Jessie's private life. "We're here to promote our movie, so let's keep these private questions unanswered for suspense. Fabian tried to help. The fans like Jessie very much. That's why we're all curious and want to know her better. The MC chuckled, not intending to let Jessie go. The question was a hard one to answer because Vincent had asked Jessie not to reveal her relationship with Julian. Just as everyone was waiting for Jessie's answer, a figure strode up from beside the stage. The man took off his hood and mask, revealing his identity. Then, Julian approached Jessie and took away her microphone. At that moment, Jessie was stunned while the fans below were screaming at the top of their lungs, thinking, "Oh my gosh. It's Julian. He's here. Let me answer that question on behalf of my girlfriend. Of course, her dream boyfriend would be me." After saying that, he hugged Jessie's shoulder, indicating his identity. At that instant, the crowd below the stage was in an uproar. Julian had openly revealed his relationship with Jessie, which was beyond their expectations. There was no need for any evidence because they all knew it was confirmed just by looking at Julian's gentle eyes that were on Jessie. Meanwhile, the MC had a stiff smile on his face. He coughed softly and tried to control the situation. It seems like Mr. Gilmore does deserve the title of Best Male Actor. Jessie leaned toward his ear and whispered, "Why are you here? Aren't you supposed to be at another event? I'm worried about you." Julian lowered his body and responded softly beside her ear. "Director Cooper is going to be furious. I don't care as long as it makes me happy." "Why you?" Jessie stared at him coquettishly, while Julian looked back at her while smiling. At this moment, his fans could only see his side profile because all his attention was on Jessie.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.